Hello everybody, this is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and I'm here on St. Paul Street in the old Goucher neighborhood, and behind me is Goucher Hall, or maybe Old Goucher Hall, the site of the original college before it moved out to Towson. The Goucher students aren't here anymore, but there are loads of students in this building. They're with the lab school, and this year the 11th grade U.S. history class took a deep dive researching their building and their own heritage of where they are today, and we're going to hear from one of them in a moment. His great-great-aunt went here, Grant. But before I turn it over to Grant, let me say a few words about how we got a Goucher College and a Goucher Hall here in Baltimore. And we'll turn the clock back to the year 1881. That's when a group of prominent Methodists from the Lovely Lane United Methodist Church, which is right next door, literally to where we are, got together and came up with the idea for founding a women's college led by John Goucher. The group was led by John Goucher. He was the pastor at Lovely Lane. It took him a little while to get going, but by 1885, so about 4 years later, they had a charter. Took them a little bit longer to get funding and to build a building, but by 1888, they had the building here and the first class of freshmen. And in 1892, 4 years later, Baltimore saw its very first graduating class of Goucher young women, all 5 of them. The location here made sense. To put the college here made sense. John Goucher and his wife Mary donated the land. It was right next door to Lovely Lane Church. The college was not denominational, but it had a heavy influence of Methodism in the early years. And it was across the street from their house. Their house was right on the other side of St. Paul Street. Incidentally, John and Mary gave another parcel of land to another young educational institution to get them going, and that was Morgan College, now Morgan State University. Their campus is on a gift of land from the Gouchers as well. When the college got started, Goucher was not its first president. He turned the job down. He had missionary work to do, founding hospitals and schools in Asia, all over the world. But when the first president retired in 1890, he was convinced to take over and stayed for about 20 years, up until 1908 when he retired. And this first college, which started out as the Women's College of Baltimore City, then officially changed its name to Goucher College in his honor. That's how we got the Goucher name that we got today. When this building was built, the first building on campus, the Goucher, John and Mary, the Gouchers, gave $100,000, a whopping sum. They got their name on the building. I guess that worked back then like it works today. And this building, they also, that $100,000 also allowed them to procure kind of the most well-known architect of the day, Stanford White. He designed this Romanesque, wonderful structure, and it was definitely an institution of higher learning. The young women here were taking Latin and Greek and physics and math, just like their male counterparts in another college that was founded right about the same time, just around the corner, and that, of course, is Johns Hopkins University. Before I turn it over to Grant, I was tempted to try to run down a list of notable Goucher alums. That's probably too many to do here. They range from early alums like, let me get her name right, Jessie Sayer, an early suffragist, to Johnny Olszewski, Johnny O, the current county executive of Baltimore County. But before I do turn it over to Grant, let me just relate 2 interesting things that happened in this building behind me. One is something that's now called the Lost Museum, with a gift of minerals and other geologic finds. Its first gift for the new young Women's College of Baltimore City. Goucher began a collection that was really second to none, nearly 90,000 objects ranging from ancient Egyptian pharaoh funereal objects to rare geodes. It's called the Lost Museum because when Goucher moved to Towson in the 1950s, it was sort of broken up and distributed to other institutions across the country. The second thing I want to mention is a time when there were 10 young women locked in a room at the top of this building. The year was 1942, and they were there voluntarily, don't worry. They were part of something called the Women Accepted for Voluntary Service, the WAVES. And they were there with their mentor, a professor named Ola Wilson, who was a Pulitzer Prize winner and a naval officer. And they were there learning cryptology. They were part of an effort to try to crack the code for the German Enigma machines that had allowed Germany to communicate across the globe in secret. The young women up there went on to work for the Navy Department during the war, and eventually were part of the effort that did crack the Enigma code and help the Allies win their victory. They worked in secret, not just up in this room learning cryptology, not just during World War II, but for most of their lives. Their husbands, their loved ones didn't know what they had done in their effort with World War II up until the 1990s, when the Navy gave them clearance to begin to share their stories. And many of them finally were able to tell those that they loved what an important role they had played. All right, with that, I am going to turn it over to Grant. There are, of course, no longer Pharaoh mummies in this building, and there are no longer Goucher code girls in the attic, but there are U.S. history students like Grant, who's going to share with us a little bit about what he learned in his semester of exploring the history of this building. Grant, we are all yours.
Hi guys, I'm Grant Leonard. I'm a student here at Baltimore Lab School, the original Goucher College in 1895. And today I'm going to talk about my great-great-aunt that went to this college in 1921. Dorothy Bergner was born in Baltimore in 1899 and graduated from Eastern High School. She earned her bachelor's degree from Goucher College in 1921. Dorothy Bergner earned both a master's and doctoral degree from Columbia University in New York in the late 1920s. At that time, very few women earned an advanced degree in science. Dr. Dorothy Bergner was hired as a principal co-worker of Dr. Albert Blakesley, one of the leading geneticists at the time. Dr. Bergner worked at Dr. Blakesley's laboratory at Cold Spring Harbor, New York, to study genetics of Jimson wheat or Detroit-stramonium. The scientists discovered that there was a great deal of chromosomal diversity in a natural population of Detroit-stramonium. That research led to a greater understanding of the effect of chromosome number on the physical traits, phenotype, of plants. Dr. Bergner worked at the Bureau of Plant Industry in California during World War II and later at the Army Chemical Center in Maryland. During her career, she authored or co-authored more than 40 publications about her research and cells. She was a pioneer for women in science. She was a special kind of doctor. She was a woman ahead of her time. She was independent. She did things on her own. It's really cool because when I was in middle school, my dad told me that she went here, and I said, wow, that's really cool. I'm walking up the same steps she was.
Hi, welcome to Baltimore Lab School. My name is Kelly Kiesler, and I'm the Director of Admissions here at BLS. We were first founded in 2000 by innovative educator Sally L. Smith. We offer an exceptional academic experience for bright, motivated students with learning disabilities and ADHD. Each year, BLS enrolls about 120 students in grades 1 through 12. Our transformative classroom experiences based on the academic club methodology, which is an engaging, multi-sensory, arts-integrated way of teaching, sets us apart from other schools. Housed in our castle-like building in one of Baltimore's several designated arts districts, our program is proven to support young people with difficulties in reading, writing, math, attention, and executive functioning skills, while preparing them for a range of rewarding choices after graduation. To learn more about Baltimore Lab School, visit us online at baltimorelabschool.org.